Well, this is either an extremely long letter of resignation or your last will and testament.
Story of Emily Hall's confession to the murder of Richard Rowan.
My timing hasn't improved any, has it?
It's okay. I can only handle so many changes at a time.
I'm terribly sorry, Jack.
So am I.
It's a shame.
It's a scoop. Better get it in before somebody from that other rag beats you to it.
I'm grateful you didn't take it over to the other rag.
How could I? The way they hounded Emily, I had no choice. Besides, last thing I need in my life right now are more lawyers.
What do you mean?
Figured you had a point. Technically, if I walk, I'm in violation of my contract.
Well, I would never really have taken advantage of that.
Like hell you wouldn't.
You're right. Can you sit for a minute? Dare I hope that there will be more stories to follow this?
Sure, you dare hope.
Well, you just made my life a great deal less complicated.
You win some, you lose some.
As you well know, I've never been very good at great beginnings, and I'm afraid this little episode tops even my bad record, but I apologize.
I didn't help matters any.
And I would like to promise that I will do no more meddling in your column.
Like hell you won't.
I just can't get away with anything around here, can I? Deal?
Deal.
It's not gonna work, Mrs. Rowan. Not this time. I'm not about to be intimidated by you anymore.
Why don't you take off your coat, have a drink, and try to explain calmly why you're so upset?
No, thanks. Why don't we start with mental cruelty to the point of sadism?
I think you must have rung the wrong bell.
Oh? Well, how else would you describe your behavior toward my cousin during the last few months?
Clever, calculated, and justified.
Listen, I may be just a farm boy from Dubuque, but even there, we know that revenge is no excuse for abject cruelty.
And how do they feel about betrayal in Dubuque? Or humiliation? Or better still, murder?
Listen, if you knew she murdered your husband, why don't you just tell the police?
It would only have been my word against hers, and I have so little faith in the legal system. Well, consider the mobsters and maniacs who gain acquittal every day thanks to money and clever lawyers. Emily had both.
Oh, so just in case, you decided to torment her yourself, just for as long as you could get away with it.
Yes. Oh, darling. Now, surely she deserved some guaranteed punishment.
You're used to controlling things, aren't you, Mrs. Rowan?
I do what I have to.
You followed your husband and Emily for over 2 years. You spied on her and collected evidence and used it to make her miserable. Because somehow, some way, that made you feel as if you had control over the situation. You're a control freak, Mrs. Rowan.
And you, dear Chaz, are obviously a young man who has never been in love. And never having known love, you have no idea of what one is capable of when love is taken away.
Listen, what is obvious is that I've never experienced love on your terms. And quite frankly, Mrs. Rowan, I hope I never do.
You almost make me wish that I were still as naive as you. Tell me, is your business philosophy equally as straightforward?
Listen, you don't need to worry about my business practices, because I'm resigning from MacMonnies.
I think you should take the time to think about that.
I don't need time. Because I don't want to control anyone, and I sure as heck don't want anybody controlling me.
Velveeta versus butter. Watch. Which melts better? Velveeta was just made to melt. Velveeta versus Cheddar. See how much more smoothly, more evenly Velveeta melts. Never separates or gets oily. Try it yourself.
Velveeta versus a Super.
Which melts better, more smoothly, more easily? Velveeta. Velveeta really cooks.
If you have a toothache and take aspirin or Tylenol, it has to go through all this to get rid of the pain, and that could take up to 30 minutes. Or use maximum strength Oragel and start relieving the pain immediately.
Oragel, available in gel and now in liquid.
I'm very picky about what I feed my animals. I did my own test. I bought a can of what I normally give her, and then the can of Calcan. It looked actually very appetizing. The gravy was thick. The meat looked very chunky. There is a difference. She thinks it's great. She licks the dish clean. That is something this cat just has never done. I couldn't believe it. I changed my whole way of thinking. Okay, from now on, you get Calcan.
More and more cat owners tell us their cats prefer Calcan.
Morning, it's time for a healthy breakfast. This time your kids will eat it. A cereal with lots of protein. Don't worry, your kids will eat it. It's Life cereal. Life is frosted on the inside, toasted on the outside. Life tastes so good. Unless they're weird, your kids will eat it.
I can't explain it. I've always been crazy about shoes. So naturally, I go to Payless for pumps. Because with so many different styles and colors, Payless has the kind of selection you just can't find anywhere else. And anywhere else, these pumps would cost a lot more. How I ever became so shoe crazy, I'll never know.
Nancy, call me crazy, but I just couldn't resist these Payless pumps.
Right now, on sale for just $12.99. Women's dress pumps. All the newest textures and colors, now just $12.99. Payless Shoe Source. You could pay more, but why?